Hey guys, Savage Joy here with Real Progressives. Sorry about the wait. I know that I forgot how different the time zone was, so it's actually midnight here. So thank you guys so much if you've stayed up and to catch us. If not, we'll have reruns tomorrow, of course. But tonight I am so happy to have Sarah Smith back. She's a candidate in Washington State, District 9. So thank you so much for coming back, Sarah.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be back.
You have, so much has happened since you've been on. When you first came on, you were, it was still primary season, of course, and it was, I would say the month prior to when the primary was. And I just remember thinking, oh my God, this girl has to get it. But you were up against the machine. Like you were up against just like the epitome of corporate tool who has been there forever.
Yes.
And also something you taught me in Washington, you guys only do mail-in ballots, which so following you guys on primary day, and you see another batch is going to drop, and I'm like, no, we already have everyone's. We already know who won every state. Come on.
I know it's a 3-day long torture fest. And the thing I keep saying is everybody vote, everyone send your ballot back. Please don't wait till election day to put it in the drop box. Please stuff it in your mailbox beforehand and track your ballot. I have learned this the hard way. Track your ballot online. They give you a little slip, keep the slip. I'm still in the mode where I don't keep the slip. Please keep the slip and make sure that you're checking it and make sure that it gets there. They will actually update you on when it gets counted. It's a pretty cool system.
Cool.
But I'm 30 years old. I don't want to have a heart attack before I'm 31. Please get your ballots back sooner than the day of the election.
Yeah, seriously. I didn't realize they give you a slip like that. That's awesome because a lot of people are concerned. What if they're not counted? So and we're seeing that right now in several states. We're seeing this crap in Georgia and Indiana, now in New Mexico. It seems in so many ways that democracy is dead. What can we do to, anyone who's a burner knows how bad we had it in 2016. So what can we do to help our democracy, to help bring it back so people don't, feel like, why should I vote? Look at the shit that happens. What can we do?
Some of the stuff that is the most important is also some of the most, for lack of a better word, boring. One of the things that we can do here, and my campaign actually did it on primary night all 3 days. We actually sent someone from the campaign to go watch ballot counting. I always tell people, double check your voter registration. If you have to register for party, double check it and make sure you check it at least 6 weeks prior to election day. Always make sure you're following up on that. And if there's any inconsistencies, bring them up with the elections office, file complaints with the elections office, hold the folks that are out there handling your ballots accountable for how they handle your ballots. But the biggest thing we can do is we can reclaim that democracy, right? That's what we're here to do. That's what most progressives coast to coast want to do. We just want to bring the democracy back to the people. So when you're supporting candidates, make sure that you're checking out their voter platform and their voter empowerment platform. And it's some of the driest stuff, but it's some of the most important stuff. And we kind of forget that the most important things are not the flashiest things. But make sure that people are supporting things like a nationalized holiday, federally funded holiday, so everyone gets paid and can get off work and can go vote. If you can register for early voting, do it. Make sure that you're looking at folks that want to put mail-in ballots across the state with paper receipts, that are looking at things like blockchain voting, that want to restore felons' rights to vote after their sentence has been completed. Make sure that the people that you're voting for don't just support the standard block of progressive policies, but they also support restoring voting rights and ending gerrymandering and making sure people have an actual say in their Congress, making sure they actually have a say in local government. this fight doesn't just begin and end at the federal level. It's also happening at the state level. It's happening at the city level, at the county level, at the local level. So make sure you're also looking for ballot initiatives. And if you don't have a ballot initiative to start something like ranked choice voting or mail-in voting, be the person who starts that initiative, because there are so many options out there and we can empower so many other people. We can't just focus at the federal level. We have to focus smaller too and more locally, because that is just as important as the big federal level focus.
Absolutely. You know, and that's something that's such a great point. A lot of people don't look at that. That's ever since I started my show, I look right at that. Do they have any kind of election changes on their platform? Because that's what's, you know, you can have the greatest candidates in the world, Bernie, but unless you have fair elections and fair primaries, doesn't really matter. So as far as your race, you were going up against this like just total dolt who has been in forever. Explain what that was like, and explain how this first time politician, although I don't like that word because it doesn't suit you,
Yeah.
but this you know, young woman who's running for something for the very first time whooped his ass. That's pretty awesome.
It has been, we were the dark horse, and we knew going into this that we are the Cinderella story. We are the dark horse campaign. We are the underdog. We have a steep incline to move up, but we are doing it. And we've built a strong team. We built a strong connection. We built a strong supporter base. We've built a strong volunteer base. We have seized every opportunity we can to get in front of the people. And that was the biggest thing for us. And at first, he says he takes every challenger seriously, but he kind of really wasn't taking me very seriously. And then it came out in the primary that we got through. And honestly, the thing that just made me rage is that in the article that came out after it was declared, it was called, is he called the 45,000 people that voted for me angry Bernie voters and nothing to worry about. And that is just so dismissive and frustrating about all of my voters. I'm frankly disgusted. I'm not even going to neuter my language. I probably should, because it's probably not politically expedient to say it out loud, but I'm totally disgusted by that attitude. These are voting people. These are folks that are voting. These are folks that care. These are people that cared enough to learn about our campaign, that cared enough to get involved, that cared enough to cast their ballot for me and not for him. And rather than saying, wow, how do I reach these people? I must have done something to not earn their vote. He goes around, he says, oh, they're just angry Bernie voters, nothing to worry about. How dismissive can you get of the people you are supposed to be serving? I even look at the 30-something thousand Republicans that came out. I don't look and say, oh, they're just Republicans, they don't matter. Those are still voters. Caring about what matters to those people is still important. It doesn't matter if they vote for me or not. There's still people in this district, and there's still people who matter. And to be perfectly honest, it's gotten really dirty up here in Washington. I didn't think it would, because and I know it sounds naive and idealistic, but maybe we need some idealism in today's on-fire political climate. The world is literally burning around us. We just need somebody who has some idealism and brings some optimism to the table. But I believe in the process. I believe firmly in this message. I believe in running a race with integrity. I don't believe in a race where we get dirty. I don't believe in a race where we criticize each other with ad hominem attacks. I don't believe in that kind of thing. I stick to records. I stick to things I can point to. I stick to things that matter to people. I talk about issues, and he can go ahead and try to hammer me over the head all he wants. I am the only candidate in this race with a plan. I'm not offering platitudes because it's election day. I've been harping on this plan since day one. I have never stopped talking about my plan or talking about my platform since day one. He waited till 6 weeks before the election to have a goddamn plan. And I'm sorry, this is a platitude that he's trying to offer voters. He's trying to co-opt the language. He's literally stealing messaging from my website. It's honestly just sad and despicable. He's trying to blow himself up as this new progressive after 22 years, when in 2007, in a Colbert Report interview, he was proudly the vice chair of the New Democrats coalition. So no, he doesn't get to sell this new, oh, I shifted with the district. The district has been coming at you fast, man, for a long time. You just haven't been listening. And then to go and dismiss the people that voted for me because they didn't vote for you, that is petty and small and power hungry. And that is not the person I am. Because when I looked at the people that voted for him, I said, okay, how can I change those minds? I didn't look at them and say, oh, they're just Adam voters. That's fine. I looked at them and I said, how can I change those people? How can I touch those people? How can I get to their doors and bring our message to them? How can I tell them that we offer a better alternative? We offer a fiery alternative. We offer an alternative that understands what we're going through and isn't going to wait until election day, 22 years later after taking office, to actually have a plan, to actually offer something of substance, and to actually want to stand up for those things. I'm not going to wait 22 years. How do I insist those people recognize that, and how do I get them onto my side? But that was the end of the primary. Dismissive of voters, and has been dismissive of me ever since, while trying to co-opt my language and saying there's no national movement. Well, listen up. If it wasn't a national movement, he wouldn't be trying to borrow the entire platform from it, would he?
Exactly. The establishment is terrified of young progressives. They dismiss us all the time, but you can tell by every move they make, they're scared. They want to be more like us, even if it's a facade.
Absolutely.
It's so pathetic. It's so pathetic.
It is. And well, like the thing that I've tried to insist that people recognize in this district is we're not like other districts because we're so blue. They have to be really careful and wander this line. But he's backed by big war. He's backed by oil money. He's backed by health insurance company money. He is backed by three giants, and he is the top recipient of fossil fuel PAC money in the entire state of Washington. He is one of the top Democrat recipients of PAC money overall. And what I'm trying to tell people in this district is they're not buying bad legislation, because if he was giving up bad legislation, he'd be voted out a lot sooner. What they're buying from him is silence. Every single time he votes the wrong way, he misunderstands the bill. Every single time he's not there to vote on the bill, he's got some excuse for not voting on it. Every time he doesn't sign on to a climate change bill, he has an excuse for not doing it. And let me tell you, the fossil fuel industry paid thousands of dollars for every single excuse, every missed vote, and every single act of silence that he commits. So we're not buying action, we're buying inaction. And he who performs inaction sides with the oppressor.
Absolutely. And we're seeing that a lot with the Democrats, especially last month, I believe it was, they had this huge meeting with 300 people in the Dem elites who they had this meeting talking about plans on how to keep progressives from running. And it was a banquet dinner, white tablecloths, whole nine, and now Chuck Schumer yesterday comes out and, I'm just going to vote for 15 of Trump's judges because I want to take a hiatus so I can campaign. Like, they're becoming more and more unabashedly Republican. I mean, they really are in so many ways. So should you win, which I think you will, and I hope you will, what is that going to be like to try and move these establishment antiquated people who have been there forever, to move them more to what we are trying to accomplish?
I think the number one thing we can do is never give up the platform. Never give up our policies. Never give up our platform. If we are walking into these meetings, into these white tablecloth dinners, and we are prepared to compromise, we already know what we're going to compromise on. What is the point of having a freaking platform? We have these platforms, we have these plans in place because this is what we're going to fight for. This is why people elect us. And if we are unapologetic in standing fast for those platforms, and we tell the Democratic Party, this is the next wave of Democrats, you can come with us or you can wither away and get left in the dust. That's the number one way to do it. And more importantly, not being afraid to talk about how you build coalitions outside of the Democratic Party. Their biggest fear is that all this gigantic voting pool of millennials and young people who are more and more independent are going to come together and add in new parties. They're going to come together and they're going to do something and make change. Because the reality is the Democratic Party is just as complicit in all of these half-measured policies as the Republicans are. They just virtue signal and put a prettier face on it. And we as representatives who are not beholden to corporations and who only owe our allegiance to the people have an obligation to the people to stand up and call those representatives out. We need more transparency in our government, not less. And if we know something is wrong, we have a moral obligation to call it out. And if we use our pulpits, and if we use our platforms to elevate other progressives in these districts, and we're unafraid to go out and work with progressive challengers for these folks, that's going to ensure more progressives get put in office. But we need to be unafraid of the establishment. And let me tell you, the guy I'm going up is the ranking member of the House Armed Services Committee, and it is a little scary. But the fact is at the end of the day, these are people that go home and take their pants off like everybody else. So we have to not be afraid of titles. We have to not be afraid of decades of power. They only have as much power as we allow them to have. And the thing I keep telling people is, if we want to swing Congress blue, and dark blue, not this weird little light blue, robin's egg shade, but like a deep dark blue. If we want to flip Congress to more progressive, all it takes to bend that axis of power is 5 seats. And there was a huge study done on it. All we need are 5 bold, steadfast, unbought, unpaid for progressives who refuse to let up and who refuse to be bought out by corporations to stand up for these policies. And we need to remember that. Every seat is a seat of power, and we must use that power for the people, because that's why that seat exists, for people, not for corporations.
Absolutely. Are there any other candidates across the country who you're really like zoomed in on? You're probably kind of busy yourself, but is there anyone else who, I'm sure Alexandria, you guys have known each other a while.
Yeah.
And people compare you guys quite a bit, your situations. Who else are you really looking forward to, hopefully succeeding?
There's a lot of people. I got to shout out to Lindsay Fagan in Texas's 26th. I will tell you guys a really great story every time. So I always get a little nervous before I do forums, because this is important to me. This movement, I'm the face of it, but I'm shouldering this movement in Washington. And so I always get a little nervous. It's important to me to do well by my supporters. It's important to me to do well by my team. We're an all-volunteer force. It's important to me to walk away with these guys feeling good about everything that I've done for them. And every time I have that moment where I'm a little bit nervous, I think, Lindsay Fagan wouldn't be nervous. And then I channel my inner Lindsay Fagan. And then I go up there and I'm like, I've got this. Be the Lindsay. And so she definitely is one of them. Adrienne Bell is amazing. She is running a wildfire campaign down in Texas. She is incredible. Vanessa Adia is trying to flip, I believe Texas is 12th. She's trying to flip it from dark red to blue. And I think if anyone can do it, it's Vanessa Adia. She is a powerhouse. Jamie Schoolcraft is rocking it on his own. James Thompson is amazing. Alex Ocasio-Cortez, of course. Ben Jealous is another person who's just fantastic. Randy Bryce is great. But I got to shout out to particularly Mark Whitmire in Tennessee, because Mark Whitmire flew all the way out here for the primary, and he helped door knock for my campaign and spoke for me at a rally. So Mark Whitmire is the real deal. He is out in Tennessee.
He's great.
Oh man, he is busting his butt, and he is making it happen in Texas. And he's doing it alongside a fellow Tennessean, I don't know, Tennessean now, fellow Tennessean, Dr. Danielle Mitchell. She is kicking butt. But we have so many progressive options to choose from across the board. There's so many opportunities for people. And I think we have this huge moment in 2018 where, the reality is not all of us are going to make it through, but we're going to make a dent. And what you do when you're hammering away at something is sometimes you just got to chip away piece by piece. And so if we don't get them in 2018, we're going to get them in 2020. 2018, the way I'm looking at it, is setting the baseline for 2020. And we have a real possibility of taking 2 terms to get most of these folks out who deserve to be out for a long time. We can get away from centrism in 2 terms. We can do it. I firmly believe in that.
What do you think what do you think that we need to do in order to inspire people to get out and vote? There's a lot of complacency. There's a lot of defeatism. We got to get more people hyped, because we've been hearing about this blue wave for, 3 years or whatever. And then some of the people just did not get off their ass and go to the polls. And it was heartbreaking to watch. So what can we do? What's one thing you want to say to people who are like, what can we tell them that next month, well, for you, really anytime because you're mail-in, but by November 6th, you need to vote because, like, what can we tell them?
You need to vote because if you don't, 10 people that want us to go redder, 10 people that want us to go more establishment are going to. For every one person that doesn't vote, there's another person that's going to. For every one person that believes in progressivism, there's one person out there who's going to go conservative. And the only way we're going to fight them is with that vote. And the fact is young people are the largest voting bloc. And we are the largest workforce. And the fact of the matter is we have to realize the establishment only started saying your vote doesn't matter when women and people of color got the right to do it. And now we need to take that right that our ancestors fought for, and we need to use it to take the power back. The reason they tried to disempower us by telling us about how our vote doesn't matter is because our vote has all the power to change everything. And people don't quite realize that power. So what we need to remind people is we need to remind them there's a hell of a lot more of us than there are of them. And we can either choose to sit out there and do nothing and then complain on Facebook and Twitter, or we can take action. We can put our money where our mouths are. And here's a fun thing. Most states will allow people to take the day off work for voting if you tell your employer in advance and your employer cannot retaliate. So a lot of employers won't tell you this, because they don't want you to vote. They don't want you to vote as a working person. They don't want working class people to vote. That's the whole reason I'm running, is working class people are not supposed to be able to afford politics, but I'm making it happen anyway. And they don't want us to vote because they know how much power it has. But if you tell your employer ahead of time, hey, I need the day off so I can go vote, or hey, I need X amount of hours off so I can go vote, they have to give it to you and they can't say anything about it. They have to let you take it. So double check into your state's laws and make sure that's available to you. But you have the power to be able to take that time off to go make yourself heard. And you need to take it, because if you don't, your employer's going to, that CEO of that company is going to, your landlord's going to, the guy that collects your taxes is going to. So you need to get out there and fight back with your vote.
Absolutely. When you go door knocking or do phone banking, what is the thing you hear about the most? Like what cause?
There's actually, my district is really big and it spans the whole gamut spectrum of incomes. We have 160 languages that are spoken in this district. So we have a ton of different things, but I'd say there's actually 3 that we hear the most. The first one we hear about income inequality. We also hear about housing, and then we hear about single payer healthcare and just healthcare in general. But the thing that we do at every door we knock on is we tell people the reason that's your number one issue is because of the vice grip corporate money has in our political sphere. And everybody, it doesn't matter if we're in the wealthy areas, it doesn't matter if we're in the poor areas, it doesn't matter if we're in the working class areas. Everybody stops closing their door and opens it back up and says, oh, yeah, you're totally right. And then all my canvassers say, well, this girl is not taking corporate money and she believes in getting it out. And that's the thing that gets people to unite. So we have 3 issues and one thing that binds them. And we try and remind people all these issues that we have are bound by one thing, and that is the effect of corporate money in our political system.
What do you think? And I probably should, usually I call out by name, but I hope you're not friends with him. But what do you think about people like Andrew Gillum, who, like, when he was running on, for the primaries, we were like, yes, oh my God, he's so awesome. I can't wait. Oh my God. And now he's taking so much corporate money. He's on stage with Debbie Wasserman Schill and Hillary. And I mean, so it's like, I'm in Pennsylvania, but I say we as progressives, we already voted for him. He's already it's him against a Republican. You know what I mean? So it's kind of like, Now what? So is there a way that we can, like, what do you suggest we can do as voters to keep people accountable, to basically say, look, you need to stick to this if we elect you. You got to keep going with this, not we went from saying Medicare for all to let's improve the Obamacare, things like that. Like we were straight up duped. So how can we what is your suggestion? What can we say to, look, you need to stick to this?
So this has actually been a huge overarching theme of my campaign. Anybody that's come by the campaign office can tell you we actually have two offices side by side. One of them's the office where we direct volunteers, and the other one's the office where we sit at the studio and yell at each other about policy. But we tell people that have ever walked by either one of our offices, they always hear this discussion of accountability. And one of the things that we've found is people really want to see commitment to things like a citizen advisory board, so that representatives are held accountable and have to explain themselves to their constituents directly. And in the case of Andrew Gillum, I have to say I was very disappointed, and I wish that I could gussy it up and paint it any other color. But I know a couple of things though. I've learned from the political spectrum, and a lot of people have a hard time, myself included, with this, but sometimes he has to shift his positions and shift his window in the way that works best for his state. And so it's possible for him that it's going to be a stronger showing for him, and he's going to be able to capture more votes if he shifts his language to talk about this or that, or strengthening the ACA versus Medicare for all. So it's entirely possible. I think it's a sellout cop-out move. But the one way we can hold people accountable is don't forget. Everybody forgets. Don't forget. This outrage, don't let go of it. Don't let go of your outrage. And it's hard because we're outraged about so much. And trust me, every day, my whole Reddit front page is literally just subreddits for puppies, because like I have to have a moment where I'm not outraged. And so if you ever see me in the background scrolling through my phone, I'm looking at pictures of dogs. I swear on my life. But the reality is, don't forget. And when he starts making policies, when he starts writing laws, when he starts getting into the fray, call his office and remind him of his promises to you. The coalitions that were built that helped him get elected, hold those coalitions accountable. Get those coalitions to step up and say things. Get those coalitions to work with you, to phone bank and call his office. Don't be afraid to hold progressives accountable. Don't be afraid to hold people that show up as a strong progressive and then scale back their message. Don't be afraid to call them out on it, because people notice. People see that, and he sees that. I guarantee you, having done a lot of my own social media, he sees it, and he knows it's there, and he knows that outrage is there. So don't let him forget it. And when it comes time to elect a new governor, that's when you really don't let him forget it. That's when you really remind him. But don't just let these things go. You're not powerless. And it feels that way. And I completely understand that feeling, because I've been that person who's like, I support that guy, he's amazing. And then they get elected and they're like, by the way, all that stuff I said, never mind, it was just talk. And I remembered that the next election, so I didn't vote for him. But that's the kind of thing that we have to do. And you have that helpless feeling, but the fact is you can fight back against that helpless feeling by taking action. Little actions too. Text him, email his office about your outrage, email him, tweet at him, direct message him, whatever it is, direct your outrage at him and let him know it's there, because I guarantee you he's seeing it. We are not as far removed from our elected officials as we think. That is something that has taken me a long time to learn, but we are not as far removed from these people as we think. They are not as powerful as we think. They are not as up on these pedestals as we think. They are beholden to the people, so the people should hold them accountable. If you're donating to someone that flips the script and starts taking corporate money, stop your donation, pull your money. Because the fact is the way we're going is getting away from corporate money. So eventually that guy's not going to have any support, because corporations won't be allowed to get involved. That is the trajectory of where our democracy is going. That's not going to end. So stop your donations to those people. Don't feel obligated to support them. Never be afraid to call them out. And next time they're up for re-election, remember that. Political officials offer platitudes at election time. Don't forget that.
Right on. Absolutely. I definitely want you to read these comments afterwards too. People are feeling you for sure. As expected.
I get very lit up.
So, I actually was told that you've been learning some more about MMT, which is exciting.
Yeah, I have. So we've been working with one of Bernie's former economic advisors who was a big voice in the MMT community. And
or
starts with an F. I can't remember his name.
Fidel?
Yes, Fidel. We've been working with Fidel. We've been trying to get something set up, and he got sick and then had surgery and then got sick again. And so we've been trying to organize a time to get on Skype with him and just do a quick session and talk about it. I do know the basic concept of MMT. I've had a lot of people come to me and talk to me about it, which has been amazing. So it's something that we've been toying around with and talking about on our campaign about what we support, what we don't support, where we can use this theory, where we can't. Because what I talk about a lot is I talk about reducing the military budget. And so we need to make sure that we're deploying the MMT philosophy in the areas we need it, like Social Security and education. We need to make sure that we're deploying in areas that are really desperate for that boost. And we're trying to find that balance for how MMT fits into a lot of these policies. But I promise people, it's happening in the conversation room. I know I don't always tweet about it, but it's because I don't have a solid position on it. I don't have a solid stance on it. I don't want to come out and tell people, I believe this thing, and then have to walk myself back. I'm a very thoughtful, big picture, pragmatic progressive. And I like to take my time with things. I like to have fully formed plans. That's why I have 23 pages of policy on my website. But it's important to me to come at these things, especially something like economics, with a fully formed, well-rounded opinion, seeing how that puzzle piece fits into the picture. But we are working on getting a call scheduled with Fidel. So it is happening. It is a conversation that's happening on my campaign. And I promise folks, we are thinking about it.
That's awesome. I know Alexandria was meeting with someone very prominent in MMT and stuff, and she has yet to say anything about MMT since she won the primary. So we're kind of like, is she just kind of playing it safe until she gets elected or what? So, but yeah. That's amazing that you are on board. I felt like you were last time.
Yes, it's not something that ever left the conversation. And if I know anything, if I had to guess, it probably is legitimately that Alex is just super busy. And I know that that's a terrible excuse, but trust me, as someone that's trying to balance a super full schedule, like I wish I could show you guys I don't even have my phone near me, but I wish I could show you my calendar. It is just, I have to scroll to get through entire days. It's a lot. And I'm still working full time on top of campaigning. So I guarantee you the conversation is probably not dead in her camp either. It's definitely, I guarantee you, not dead in mine, but I doubt it's dead in hers either. So the conversation does exist. I know it's something that's been happening in the progressive sphere for a while, but I think it's good to just be open about it and let everybody know. It is something that we have bounced around in the campaign quite a bit. So it is there. I promise it's happening. And that's the first step of the conversation. So
absolutely. Well, Jimmy Dore did an MMT show today, which was very surprising, to be quite honest with you, because I've been with Jimmy Dore in person when he says, I'm not smart enough for it, and made jokes. So when it happened today, I was like, yeah, finally, all right.
Yeah. I mean, that's my big thing is if I don't know something about something, I go out and I educate myself about it. I don't know what I don't know. And I knew going into this race that, foreign policy was going to be my incumbent strong point. It was my weak point. So I actually made a conscious effort to go out and get as educated as I could in foreign policy. And now I think I'm one of the only progressive platforms out there that actually has a comprehensive policy platform for global policy. But I mean, and now I really like it. And now it's something that I'm really excited about. And I'm really into is foreign policy and foreign relations and the very delicate global stage. But I mean, I think that's important is like Jimmy went out and he learned everything he could learn. And then he came back and he talked about it again. And that's kind of what we're doing. We're a campaign that's learning a lot. But nobody in Congress knows everything. So I always try to be the person that knows everything. But I know that, you kind of just got to admit it sometimes and eat your crow and move on.
Yeah, exactly. And you did kind of speak a little bit about poverty. You do support a federal job guarantee as well?
Yes. Oh, I'm so excited about this. Sorry. I get really excited talking about the federal jobs guarantee because it's one of the single most important components to big picture policies like housing for all, an infrastructure bill, building a new Green Deal. If you couple all of those with a federal jobs guarantee, what that would allow us to do is instead of paying private contractors who are going to be making millions of dollars in profit, we just skip that and we hire the workers directly for the projects. It's kind of like the Postal Service. So the U.S. Postal Service it works in conjunction with other private corporations. But what the U.S. Postal Service does is it also makes sure wages stay high for competing companies in that business. And it also makes sure that benefits stay high. It makes sure people have an incentive to go work for these other companies while instead of working for the post office. That's what a federal jobs guarantee would do. It would make sure that wages stay high. It would make sure that work stays good. And it would make sure that other competing companies would have to at least meet or exceed those benefits to draw new talent. And so that's really, really good for everybody. That's great for the economy and provides good paying jobs for folks. And it enables us to do things like build those 10 million social homes over 10 years. And one of the things I tell people, because they're like, oh, once they're built, those jobs are going to go away. One of the things I want to see is I actually want to see some of those 10 million social homes be specifically designated to senior housing. And if we can specifically staff them for senior housing, those are continuous jobs that we need people for. If we can use some of that social home capital to put into childcare facilities, that's something that we really need. We can have federally guaranteed childcare for hardworking folks. This would really give us a lot of opportunity. How we approach that idea of 10 million social homes is so big and so fluid that we can do things like children's homes, like childcare facilities, like senior living facilities. We can staff them through federally guaranteed jobs and give people good work, and then guarantee that all Americans have a dignified life and have a dignified base that they can work from.
It would be so much easier for entrepreneurs as well. There's, cut back unemployment, cut back homelessness, cut back, people being like rent control, things like this. I mean, it would just change everything. And along with that, your minimum wage in Washington is higher, I believe. I'm sorry, excuse me.
All right.
What's your minimum wage where you are?
So where I'm at, it kind of varies a little bit. So Seattle proper is $15 an hour. And then there's areas around it like Bellevue that are $12 an hour. There's some that are $10 an hour, but we're all working our way up to that $15 an hour. And when it comes to minimum wage, I know SeaTac is $15 an hour too down here. We were actually SeaTac was one of the first cities to have a $15 minimum wage, which was amazing. But now we have to think bigger than that. And that's one of the things that I point to when I talk about the guy I'm running against. So Adam talks about how he fought for the $15 an hour wage in SeaTac like 10 and 20 years ago. I can't remember how long ago it was, but he fought for it for a long time ago. And the thing that gets me is that's great for the people of SeaTac, but what about the people of Tukwila? What about the people of South Seattle? What about the people of Bellevue? What about the people of Kent and Federal Way? Do they not also deserve $15 an hour? And so I firmly believe that we actually need to do more than that. $15 an hour is a great start in a lot of different cities, but here in the Seattle area, we actually need something more like $20 an hour just to be able to afford rent on a 2-bedroom apartment and childcare and food and everything like that. We need at least $20 an hour because cost of living is so much higher. So the thing that I always talk about, and I've actually been very specific to say this, is we need a living wage tied to inflation. Because if we miss that crucial component of tying it to inflation, all we're doing is kicking the can down the road. And I think that needs to be an area of no compromise. So the next big bill to bring up federal minimum wage must tie it to inflation, because otherwise we are just pawning it off on the next generation about 10, 20 years from now that's going to have the same discussion. And we have to stop putting forth legislation that just kicks the can down the road. We have to do better. And tying a living wage to inflation ensures that people are able to afford a dignified life, participate in the economy, be able to afford housing, be able to afford to start families, be able to go to school, be able to do whatever they need to do to build a dignified life. We have the ability to. We need to stop pretending that we don't.
Absolutely. I'm in Pennsylvania and the minimum wage is $7.25.
Oh my gosh.
I cannot fathom. I can't, especially, and I don't even have kids. How can you survive on that? It's just incredible. And it's been that for over a decade. Yeah. It hasn't gone up a penny.
And that's the thing people don't realize is wages are actually stagnant or falling. And meanwhile, companies and CEOs are posting billions of dollars in profits every single year. And we're seeing men like Jeff Bezos, who I have been calling the Smaug of the Northwest, who are sitting on these billion-dollar fortunes that are not going anywhere. And they're not benefiting people. They're not being used for new job creation. They're not being used to grow new wealth. They're not being used to go back into the economy. He's just sitting on this pile of gold and riches, doing nothing with it, while the people that built those riches for him are sleeping in their cars in front of the warehouse that they work in front of because they cannot afford a place to live. And it is ridiculous. And this minimum wage is $7.25. In some places, I think it's I think it was Missouri that voted to reduce it from $10 an hour back down to the $7.25. And this is just egregious. And this lie that people feed is those are supposed to be for, medium or entry level jobs for high school kids. Let me tell those people something. There is no such thing as a job that does not have dignity. Every job has dignity. Every single job people do is a dignified job. And we need to stop pretending there's these different echelons of quality of work. Everyone that shows up, that busts their ass, that gives up their time, that is there fighting to be able to afford groceries and a roof over their head is doing dignified work. And I don't care what level it's at. All work is dignified work.
Yeah, absolutely. You see that all the time, especially with, Bernie starting the Fight for 15 for Amazon. You see, what's next? McDonald's Fight for 15, and now Bernie's trying to get McDonald's to.
Yes.
They don't deserve 15. Why?
Yes. Why?
Their complaint is not that McDonald's doesn't deserve it. Their complaint is that they think they deserve more. So, and it's like, look, you go to McDonald's and you order food, so you want someone there, so shut up and deal.
Yes.
Like, seriously.
You're paying for someone to provide you a luxury, and if they don't deserve more, if they don't deserve a living wage to provide you that luxury, then you really don't need that luxury, do you? Those people are out there giving up their time. They are awake all hours of the night. They wake up really early to be at work, to drop their kids off with a parent, because I guarantee you they cannot afford childcare. If they're lucky to be able to have that kind of safety net, then they're able to go drop it off with someone they know. If not, they're hemorrhaging cash out every single day. These are people that drive themselves to work, that take the bus. A lot of these folks actually are homeless people who are trying to work. They wake up, come out of their tents, put on their name tag, and go to work. And I know that because I have literally seen that when we were out canvassing. A woman got out of her tent, put on her uniform, put on her name tag, and walked down the street to go to work. These people are busting their butts to give folks like that a luxury. And those people have the audacity to complain about that person, demanding to be treated like a human being and be treated with a shred of dignity so they can provide for their families. That mindset is so broken to me. I don't understand it. And if that person is going out of their way to go obtain this luxury from McDonald's, then they need to be quiet and let the person that's making that luxury for them determine what they're worth. That person at the drive-thru does not get to determine what that worker is worth. Only that worker gets to make that determination.
Absolutely. Girl, you're making me hype.
I get really lit up. I remember what it was like struggling. And so it's not something you ever forget, believe me.
Well, this is one of the really difficult things about doing the show is because I meet these candidates and I get so hype and I'm like, I kind of want to vote for them, but I can't. I said to Tim Canova, I'm going to start establishing residents like throughout the U.S. next primary season.
Everywhere with slightly different names, right? I'm kidding. Don't really do that. I'm going to get
voter fraud and,
It'll be a whole thing. It's all right.
You did mention a Green New Deal. What are some of the aspects you want to, it's a pretty broad topic. What are some of the areas you want to focus on?
Sure. So I think first and foremost, the planet is dying. We can't pretend it's not anymore. I mean, I read that just absolutely heartbreaking study that came out that said by 2100, it's all going to go to shit. Pardon my language. It's all just gonna.
Girl, you've been on here.
I know, and I'm like, oh no, do I swear? But it's all gonna go to shit by 2100, and we're all dead. And Congress has basically given up, and basically said, well, it's too late. Can't do anything about it now. Let me tell you, we can do a lot, and if we don't start now, we're gonna start feeling the effects of it by at least 2030. There's a study that says 2040. I opt for the more accurate looking study of 2030 because we're already seeing it. We had a much rainier season that went into July, and now our warm days are lasting us into October. It has not started pouring rain every single day here, which is absolutely unheard of by now in October. We might get a sunny Halloween, which we never have. And that's the effect of climate change. And so when I talk about a brand new Green Deal, what I mean by this is we have to end our dependency on fossil fuels. It's happening all over the world. It needs to happen here. And these companies come in and they lie to us and they gaslight us and they tell us, oh, but coal provides jobs. Fossil fuel provides jobs. For every one job in coal, green energy creates 4. Green energy is the future. And fossil fuels no longer deserve the massive subsidies that they're getting from the US government. They are killing the planet, and we are giving them taxpayer money to do it. So what we need to do is we need to cut those fossil fuel subsidies, and we need to redirect those funds and give those subsidies to green energy companies so they can focus on research and development. The complaint is always, oh, well, solar is too expensive to produce. It's only that way because they can't afford it and they don't have the money to find a way to produce it better. So we need to provide them the subsidies to allow them to do that and fight for that. And then we need to talk about a Green New Deal because this involves education too. This involves job retraining. This involves being able to pay for people to go to school, to college, to technical school, vocational school, job retraining. We are going to need people for long-term sustainable jobs, building solar batteries, building solar panels, maintaining solar batteries, maintaining solar panels, building these systems, building up our infrastructure, because people don't seem to realize too, our infrastructure is another part of that Green Deal. Building up the $4.6 trillion we need to up our roads, to revamp our metro systems, to give everybody access to public transportation, to invest in things like hyperrail and hyperloop rail and magnetic rail. In order to do that, we have to build up our infrastructure, and we have to do it in a green and sustainable way. And this is all encompassed in that brand new Green Deal. It's not just limited to, oh, invest in solar and wind. This is so much bigger than that. This is invest in education for people to be able to do that. Invest in infrastructure to be able to give people a real alternative to using their cars. I was at a League of Women Voters Forum. By the way, I was the only woman on that entire stage at the League of Women Voters Forum. So what I'm saying with this is, ladies, please run. But I was the only one. And a guy at the end, one of the Republicans just said, well, instead of buying a gas car, why don't they buy a hybrid? They have that option. And I'm like, you don't understand poverty. You don't understand how money works. And this is the attitude that a lot of people are coming at it with, is why not just buy a greener car? Instead of why not just buy a greener car, why not just invest in infrastructure that allows people to not have to take a car at all?
Exactly. That's some privileged shit. Oh my God.
You can see one of my folks recorded my moment. I'm a really expressive person. I think I've kind of revealed that a little bit. I have a really expressive face and I haven't quite mastered the political stonewall. So he said it and I just went, and it's on camera and I'm like, uh-oh. I wonder if anyone wonders how I feel about that statement. But I mean, I can't help myself sometimes. My incumbent said something at a forum and I was like, and it's just like the funniest clip of me just immediately going, that's going to be a GIF somewhere, I'm sure.
I was going to say, be careful. Memes.
I know.
Careful.
That's all right. I grew up on the internet. I know how it works.
You guys, I see some of you asking about a federal job guarantee. We did discuss that for a few minutes, and Sarah is totally on board and quite excited about it. So
I am. And so when I look at policy, the thing I try to remind people is we have been told by representatives over and over and over again about how healthcare is separate from education, which is separate from jobs, which is separate from infrastructure. And the coolest part about progressives that really know their shit is that progressives who know their policy, who understand how policy works, and who understands how big picture thinking works, knows how all of these are connected Immigration is as connected to infrastructure as infrastructure is connected to housing, as housing is connected to healthcare, as healthcare is connected to homelessness. These things are not separate issues, and do not get behind representatives that legislate like they are. They are interconnected, and they will never become so inextricably linked that we can look at them as separate pieces. And we have to stop allowing our legislators to force us into thinking of them that way.
Absolutely. If there is something you want to leave our audience with, to, go to your website, to promote you, to share the show, to, to even hopefully send you a few dollar donation. Hint, hint, guys. What do you want to leave our viewers with?
So, of course, go visit our website, votesarahsmith.com. We, like all grassroots progressives, are always begging for money from people. So, votesarahsmith.com/donate. We're in the home stretch. We are doing things like putting rallies together. We're feeding people. We're doing community food sponsorships. We are doing a ton of stuff. And so we really need funding to be able to help us do that. So votesarahsmith.com/donate. If you want to follow me on Twitter, I'm at SarahSmith2018. And I'm going to say something that I don't normally say. The Twitter is all me. I'm actually the only one that has access to my own Twitter. So everything you see popping up there, that's really me, like sitting there raging on my phone. So come follow my Twitter. It's a lot of fun. I'm a little snarkier on Twitter than I am on Facebook. Go follow me on Facebook as well. But I mean, the biggest thing that I want to leave people with is get involved. And if you get involved, that's a big spectrum of opportunities. We personally, not just us, like the whole progressive movement, always need phone bankers. We always need texters. We always need people to call. We always need people to donate. We always need canvassers, especially here in Washington. If you are in Washington's 9th District or one of the surrounding areas and you are like, I want to do something cool, come out one Saturday or Sunday and join us to knock some doors, because we have over 700,000 registered voters in this district. We have so many people to reach. So please come and help us knock doors. There's so many of them. But for some people too, getting involved means running. And we are told all the time that we can't run because we don't have this pedigree. We can't run because we've never started a nonprofit. We can't run because we've never, run a business, or we're not a lawyer or a doctor. But let me tell you, you are worthy of running. Your experience is valid. Never discredit your lived experience. Never discredit that as something that's held you back. That is not something that's held you back. That's something that's given you more insight into what the people around you are facing than anybody else. You are worthy exactly as you are. I have a bunch of tattoos you can't see. I mean, I have done crazy things in my life. I have gone through so much. I've been houseless. I'm a sexual assault survivor. I've got tattoos. I've got piercings. I am running exactly as I am. There is no hair color too crazy to run for office. There is no outfit too casual to run for office. I wear t-shirts and blazers because that's just the person I am. Run exactly as you are, and do not be afraid to use your voice. And no matter what you do, speak with integrity, speak with passion, and speak with honesty for people, because that's what we need right now. We need honesty in our political system, but we need your experience in our political system. It only changes because people who know how hard it really is in a post-recession America stand up and make that change. We can't wait for it. We have to make it. So join the process. Get involved. Something as small as water district, all the way up to running for state senate, all the way up to running for federal Congress, whatever it is that makes you happy, run, and run exactly as you are. Run exactly with your truth and your story, and don't let anybody tell you you're not valid, because you are.
I'm getting choked up, girl. You're killing me.
I can't help it. I believe in the movement.
I'm doing that. Okay. Yeah, I mean, so you guys, I don't know if you've heard me say this before, but I've done almost 100 interviews with candidates, with almost 100 different candidates now from across the country. And I've only personally endorsed 9. Sarah is one of them. Obviously, you guys can see why. I mean, to me, it was a no-brainer the first time she came on. You are remarkable. I don't even know how to say it. Your energy, I hope we get to meet one day. You know, I'll give you a big hug and I'll take you for a drink and, you know, we could just be silly, but, yeah, I mean, you're just awesome. I wish you the best of luck. Everybody, thank you for watching. Please share this. Please promote Sarah. Please throw her a few dollars if you can. Text, phone bank, anything, Canvas if you're local. Jay said you're rad sauce, which I love. Jay. That's awesome. So yeah, I mean, thank you guys so much. Monday I have, I don't know if you guys saw, but I just went to Vermont for Bernie's birthday party, and I had an event where I organized a bunch of Vermont speakers and people running for office. And there's a gentleman named Matt Barong who spoke, who was running. And yesterday he was endorsed by Bernie. So he's coming Monday. And then through popular request, Zach Ringelstein is coming Thursday. I think that's how you say his name. So he'll be here Thursday. And I have a couple other ones that I'm waiting on time. Oh, cool. You got some volunteers in the...
Yay! Hi, everybody.
Yeah, definitely check out the comments afterwards.
I'm going to have to now.
Thank you again so much, Sarah. Best of luck with everything. You are just too cool for words.
Oh, seriously. Thank you so much. And I'm so glad you're back, and I'm so glad you're doing well. And thank you for being here and doing what you do. Thank you. Yeah,
this is the kind of person Sarah is. One of my Facebook burner friends set up a GoFundMe because of all my medical issues, and Sarah donated. That's more than a candidate to me. Her and Tim Canova, both of them donated. And I'm just like, damn, like that says so much. But yeah, I digress. Not to put you on the spot, but so thank you.
I'm just glad you're better. Of course, anytime. I live my truth. It matters.
For sure. Well, much love, Sarah. Good luck, and thank you all again for watching. Take care.
Bye. Bye.